Howdy friends, welcome back. Today I'm going to do another Get Ready With Me. So I have already picked my products for today, so let's go ahead and look at the products that I picked and then get started with the makeup. So I've had these sitting here for a while, the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define Foundation and the matching concealer, the Conceal and Define concealer. I have the shade F1 of the foundation and C0.7 of the concealer. I hope they're alright. It was really hard to match online and I've had them sitting here for a while. And I also have the Revolution Forever Flawless Birds of Paradise palette. Honestly, I don't have high hopes for this one. It kind of looks like it would be cheap and kind of chalky, so we'll see. And then I'm going to use this Milani. Why do these not have the name? I can't remember. Every time I talk about these, I'm pretty sure it's the Color Finish Shine something or other, and this is the shade Lustful. I want to say I've used this shade before, and I may have accidentally put it back in my new makeup box, but I'm going to use it again. Oh, I just opened this for the first time. It has a doe foot. I've never seen a foundation with a doe foot. Actually, I should probably shade test this before I get too far into it. That is pretty close. Hopefully it doesn't oxidize. Wow, yeah, that's pretty close to my neck. Alright, we're off to a good start. I kind of feel like you would use a lot less product this way with this applicator because you can just put it directly on. You don't have to pump it out and get... It just makes a noise every time. You don't have to like pump it out and then get it all over your hand, wipe your hand off, all that stuff. So a little bit of that is going a long way. My face is pretty red today. I was gonna say I don't know what happened, but I do know what happened. I had a pimple and I picked at it and now it's all red. So I'm sure you can hear that my window is open right behind the camera because our air conditioner still isn't fixed. If you've been following along with my Get Ready With Me's for a while, it's been... I have no concept of time, but I know for a fact it's been at least a month since it's been broken. And it's happened the past 2 or 3 years. Actually, thankfully it didn't break this time last year because we probably couldn't have found anybody to come fix it. But for the 2 years before that and then now this year, it just won't come on when it's time to turn the air conditioner on. And, you know, when it starts finally getting warm enough. I'm trying this concealer now. That's a tiny little baby doe foot. But they sent somebody out to fix it. It took like over a week for them to come. And then the same person from the same company came 3 times. And then nothing was getting fixed. Finally, the last time they were like, well, it's something to do with the underground part. Our company isn't equipped to do that. Well, apparently their company wasn't equipped to do our system at all because it's a geothermal unit. It's not a normal HVAC. So, not just any company can do those because they're pretty rare. And I was looking it up, like, why in the world would the people who used to live here, why would they have wanted that? Because it's extremely expensive to put in one of those units. And there's not even, like, it's not worth the cost benefit versus just a regular HVAC. So I don't know what in the world they were thinking. But our warranty company was bought out by a different warranty company that is terrible. Like last time with the old company, they got somebody to fix it right away and they knew what they were doing. Well, then now, like, the company that came before when it was broken, it won't work with this new warranty company, so that's great. And like my mom's the one that's been handling it because it's under her name, and she's tried to tell them several times on every single phone call. We have an elderly person living here with medical problems and another member of my family with disabilities that really shouldn't be in the heat. And then all of us except for my brother work from home as well. So we can't escape it. It's not like we can go to work and get a break in the air conditioner for a little while. We can't. And then my mom has tons and tons of papers for her work and all my work is fabric, so it's so humid in here. All that stuff is going to be ruined pretty soon if we don't get air back on. At least it's been raining the past few days. We actually had a tornado warning a few days ago, but since it's been raining in the tornado warning, the cicadas have shut up for a few minutes. Hopefully they'll call like today or maybe tomorrow about sending somebody else out to try to look at it. And they were saying like if they couldn't find somebody to fix it, they would just have to pay to have it replaced. And I guess they would do like a normal HVAC because this geothermal nonsense is not working for us. But then I feel like that would take even longer. Like it would take a little while to get that installed. I also kind of feel like they should have paid for us to have like some portable units, you know, because we've been hesitant to buy some because we're like, well, if it's only going to be a few days, there's no point in spending, you know, hundreds of dollars on air conditioner units like for the window or whatever. But now it's been over a month, so we're like, well, maybe we should have. So what else do I want to talk about today? I guess I finally got my diagnosis, finally, and then is it raining again? No, just windy. And I made a little bit of mental progress, at least, with my business. Like I said in the last video where I talked about this, I'm kind of hesitant to share my diagnosis because it's very, very, very misunderstood, and I don't want to deal with the ableism or, you know, the people that try to erase this disorder. I don't want... It's kind of up to the individual person whether they want to call it a disability or... I mean, that's technically considered a disorder. I guess in some ways it would be a disability. So if you haven't heard of my other Get Ready With Me's, or this is the first video that you're seeing of mine, I went in for testing for ADHD and for autism spectrum disorder. I went for the actual the testing phase, and then I think I talked about that in a previous video, like exactly what I did. Did I? I don't know. And then I took the testing, and they were like, well, it could be up to a month, and then we'll send you a copy of the report, and we'll send one to your family doctor as well. So I finally got the report in the mail about a week ago, and it was pretty detailed, like as far as what I had told the psychiatrist. Like she wrote down all the notes that I told her in the initial appointment, and then findings from the testing. Like basically how I was evaluated with the scoring system and all that stuff, because it wasn't just like talking to her and her asking me questions about myself. There was like actual tests, which I kind of thought was a little bit odd because some of the testing that I did I remember doing in school. So I'm not sure if everybody at school did that, because I don't know. There were just some things that I specifically remember that I've done this test before. So, like, if I had these disorders, why wasn't it caught when I did these tests when I was in school? Because I would have had the same results. Though I was in the Gifted and Talented program, which basically meant nothing. They promised us all these field trips and special activities, and you're probably going to get a scholarship to college and all that stuff, which is bullcrap. None of that ever happened. So, no surprise to me, I was diagnosed with ADHD inattentive type, which is, I've been researching the different types. There's inattentive, hyperactive, or like a combo of the two, and everybody has both. Like, it's just kind of how you present at the time of diagnosis is what they diagnose you with. And then that same kind of situation messed up the second part of it, I think. So I feel like I've talked about this in other videos as well, but with the autism spectrum, there's a lot of things. So most of the time in an adult woman, especially with either ADHD and or autism, they mask it a lot. Like, we don't act like we have ADHD or autism because it's like socially unacceptable for an adult woman to act like that. So we just learn to hide it over the years. Or we're forced to hide it because people don't like it when people act autistic or like they can't pay attention. And I tried, like I had just recently learned about masking and what that meant and how it like all started clicking in my brain. So I was just starting to try to unmask some things when I went for my like diagnosis appointment. So I wasn't like trying to like play it up or whatever, but I was like, I just want to act like myself. You know, I feel like that's what they would expect, but also I'm sure like psychiatrists know that people are guarded the first time that that they have an appointment. But I tried to be as open and honest as I could. There are a few things that I left out when she asked my symptoms, because I thought that maybe she would ask like more follow-up kind of things. Like, the only thing that she asked me, like outside of what I told her, was if I lost things a lot. Which I said yes, but it's hard, like I've learned over the years of like having it but not knowing that I have it, that if I don't put something in the same exact place every time, it just disappears. So I have to have things like out where I can see them in the same spot or very close to the same spot, and then I don't lose them. But if it's something that I need to put away for safekeeping, gone. But also back to like the different types of ADHD, that's kind of why I didn't really seek a diagnosis until recently, because I wrongly believed that it was just hyperactivity. Like, the hyperactivity is not what you think it is. Like, it's hyperactivity inside of your head. It's not hyperactivity on the outside. Then it's also not always hyperactive. Like, a lot of the time my head is just blank because I can't figure out what to do or, what to think about. Then to the second part of it, I have been doing a little bit of research. I hadn't done a lot of it yet. Like, I probably should have done a little bit more. But I asked to be tested for autism spectrum disorder. So, because I was like, some of the symptoms that I was having also could be indicative of ADHD, but not all of them. In the report from the psychiatrist, they said that I did not meet, how was it? They said that I met some criteria for autism diagnosis, but not all. So they diagnosed me with social communication disorder, which fits. Like, yeah. And I was kind of looking up because they've, in the past, I don't know, like 10 years or so, they've changed a little bit of the terminology around autism spectrum disorders. So there used to be one called Asperger's, and that is no longer a term that's used. I mean, if that was your diagnosis from years ago, it's still valid, but they don't diagnose people with that anymore. If they're following the DSM, then they shouldn't. But I thought I had that until I learned that, it's not really, they don't really diagnose it as that anymore. It just usually kind of all falls under autism spectrum disorder. I was kind of like, well, that's kind of like, I've never really heard of social communication disorder, but that sounded like the same symptoms or the same characteristics as Asperger's. So I looked it up, and from what I can tell, there's nothing that point blank says it's the same thing, but it's pretty much the same thing. So in that case, I feel like they're trying to say that it's autism, but they don't want to call it that. So I've heard from, I don't know how many people who have been fighting for a diagnosis for autism because the medical professional who's diagnosing them doesn't want to put that on them because it might like impair them in some way to have that diagnosis. So I've seen that a lot with children as well, not just like adult women, but like they think that it would hinder their abilities or whatever, but it's like, diagnosing someone with something doesn't make it worse. Like that just, it's like you wouldn't go to the doctor and then they won't tell you that your leg is broken because that might impair your ability to work. Like, does that make sense? And I do think that self-diagnosis is valid because, I mean, really and truly, there's obviously not a cure for autism or ADHD. The only thing is with ADHD, it's treated with medicine pretty commonly, so you have to have an official diagnosis to get medicine. But ADHD, with autism, there's not really much you can do. You can do like cognitive behavioral therapy. Just mental health services are outrageously expensive. So I think for like all intents and purposes, it's basically autism, because I didn't expand on what she said. So she said in the report that I had some characteristics of it, but not all. Mainly I had the social impairment characteristics and not the repetitive behavior characteristics. But like I was saying, she didn't ask me if I had the repetitive behavior characteristics because I was masking in the appointment. And the most of those things I have in my head, like if I have like when you think of somebody with autism, like my cousin, for example, has scripts or verbal stems that they'll just repeat over and over. I have that in my head. Not all the time, but a good majority. Anyways, I'm gonna go into this palette now while I keep talking. Like my cousin, he memorizes people's phone numbers, which is helpful in an emergency. You know, it could definitely not the worst thing that he could be repeating over and over again, especially if, you know, something happened. But like for me, it's any sound. I don't repeat them out loud because I don't like talking. Like I feel like one of the things that I mask is being nonverbal. Like I force myself to talk sometimes. But it will be like if I'm just walking through the kitchen or like I hear something on TV, even if it's just like a word or two, I'll just hear that over and over again in my head and I can't get rid of it. The worst is like if I'm near somebody that's playing video games. That's why I haven't played. I just like put 2 and 2 together not too long ago about why I don't like video games, because if I play them on my phone, I turn the volume off, because if like there's something, you know, video games, if you walk past an NPC, they're going to repeat the same thing over and over again. I cannot deal with that because then that gets stuck in my head. But it doesn't even have to be repeated for it to get stuck. It just is like one word or two. The first time I noticed this was years ago. At least 10 years ago, maybe more, and Hannah Montana was on TV. This is slightly awkward, but there was, I don't remember what episode it was, but it was either Hannah or Lily that was like, "You mean Hottie Lamati with the swimmer's body?" That got stuck in my head for 6 months at least. And it's not just like somebody having a song stuck in their head. Like it's only 1 or 2 sentences or 1 or 2 words or like a beat or something that just gets stuck. This is not the worst eyeshadow palette that I ever used. I did not have high hopes for it. But I also, the thing is I can't afford to go, like that was pretty much the only place around that took my insurance. And I honestly, I didn't even consider that they may bill me, even though I have Medicaid. And it said they were covered, but I am honestly not sure if I'm going to get a bill or not. Like since I've had that, I haven't gotten a bill from any doctor or anything that I've gotten, so I really hope that I don't have like a nasty surprise in the mail at some point with a bill from that, because apparently without insurance, it costs several $1,000s to get tested for autism. Just autism, not, like, I don't even want to think about both, but like if I wanted to go to a different place and try to get retested for autism or whatever, like, it just seems pointless, because it's not like something that they can fix, you know. Like if I was having a physical medical problem that I wasn't getting a diagnosis for, I would absolutely go, you know, somewhere else. But I've lived my life this long. Nobody in my life has ever like noticed that something was wrong, because I've hidden it that well. With autism, at least, I've been, yeah, people can read that you've got ADHD, but even ADHD is misunderstood, and it's a very, very common disorder. The shimmer is not wanting to pick up on my brush very well. It looks creamy, it's moving around with the brush, but it's not picking up. I mean, I should have covered that area with the matte and then put the shimmer over it. Alright, done with that palette. It's a little bit of a bright look, but it works. These are my comfort colors. So I've made a little bit of a breakthrough like I was talking about, and I think my last Get Ready With Me, how I was really overwhelmed with my new business, like just how to go about it, and I think I've kind of figured it out, but I've also kind of accepted that it doesn't matter exactly what order I do things in. There may be a way that ends up being better than another, but as long as, you know, I get to what I'm trying to do, then should be okay. So I think the smart thing to do is to build up my social media before I launch a blog or anything like that. That way people are like there and ready to look at it, you know, instead of it just sitting there and then me trying to promote it afterwards. And I'm really trying to wait on this dang air conditioner to get fixed so I can do vlogs and stuff like that for the channel and for the new channel. And then I need to like clean my office and everything, but I don't want to do that because it's too freaking hot in here. So I just kind of feel stuck until that gets fixed. I usually have that problem with everything, like I want to wait until circumstances are perfect, until I, you know, want to do something, but then I'm like, this one I think is valid for me to wait until that gets done, you know. I'm surprised this KVD Epic Curl Lash Primer has lasted as long as it has. I was kind of worried that it would get used up quick or dry out quick. It's kind of expensive. I don't know, I wouldn't run out and buy it again, even though I'm on a no-buy, so I wouldn't consider that as like a necessary replacement as of now, but I'm glad it's lasting because it does help. Okay, so I'm going to use the Milani, whatever this is called, in the shade Lustful. That is a good match for this eyeshadow. I am glad that I found these though, because I used to have those, the Revlon ones like this. If you've been around the YouTube or like the makeup community for a while, you know what I'm talking about. But one of those I think was the first lipstick I ever used up. And so there's the finished look. It's like kind of a little springy, even though it's not spring anymore. It's, I don't know, it's not technically summer yet, but it definitely does not feel like spring anymore. It is summer. So I obviously want to wear test this foundation. This is the first time I've ever used it, but so far I am pretty impressed. It only took a little bit. Like, I wouldn't even think what I used was like a pump's worth of a different foundation, because this one has the doe foot. And the concealer was okay. This is definitely a good shade match for this foundation. So in the foundation I had shade F1. And the concealer I had C0.7. It's not like a full coverage. I probably could have made it full coverage if I wanted to, but you know, it's hot outside. I don't want it like sliding off. Oh well, hot inside. The Revolution Makeup, the Makeup Revolution Forever Flawless Birds of Paradise palette. This was okay. I used the shade Toucan Play right here, and then I used the shade Tweet, and then the shimmer I used was this one called Exotic. Then I used a little bit of this white called Cockatoo in the inner corner. And this is not a terrible formula, but it's not like, it doesn't hold up to like my indie eyeshadow palettes, you know, but I think this is a good option. It's pretty affordable. I've not tried the pressed glitters though. I don't think I will. I don't know. What am I saying? I wouldn't have bought this palette if I knew that it had those pressed glitters. I couldn't really tell online, so. And I love this formula of lipsticks from Milani. I want them in every color. I have like 2 or 3 now, I think. And if you haven't seen my last video, please go check it out. Urban Body Jewelry sent me some things, including these teardrop shaped plugs. So go check that out, and I have a discount code with them as well. It'll be in the description box of this video, and then also mention it in my last video where I did a try out for all the new plugs I got. So if you've watched this far in the video and you haven't subscribed yet, you might as well. I post new videos most every Tuesday and Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Links to my business and my social media will be in the description box, and I will see you in the comments. Bye.